I brace myself. October chess is over for this late booming chess prodigy. I ended with 6 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Overall, hello viewers, I feel luck, good and bad, balanced out. I had about as many good breaks, opponents making what I deem to be uncharacteristic mistakes, and bad breaks. Me doing something a little bit stupid, the opponent finding something that at that level I don't feel like they usually do. So I'd say that's about right for me. Most of those games were against athletes slightly below my rating, which I should be roughly 1,600 once the new ratings happen, which they might have. They still haven't rated previous Sunday's games, which is concerning. They still have not. So I should be a little over 1,600 going into November over the board. My one draw was against an athlete rated 2023. I think the live rating was 2015, and his peak rating was close to 2,100. And good chess players have a different brain. I've changed my perspective. The elite ones seem to have figured out how to use the strengths that go along with an elite brain. A 2,000 player should never, ever offer me a draw, even if they're beat. And I'm good enough now. If I want to take absurd risk, and I had the white pieces, I had the black piece in that game. I like 1 in 100 games, maybe I could beat a 2,000 player right now. But he beat himself. I allowed him to not only have a pawn center, but create a pawn center. It wasn't already there. And he made a slight inaccuracy that allowed me to get a pawn back and get my own pretty good pawn chain on the queen side. But a 2,000 level player has 2 pawns right in my grill in the center. I threw my F pawn because I had to fight back. I can't get swallowed up. I've learned that. You made me right now. You made me right now. Figure it out. Prove to me you can figure it out, even though a 2,000 level player should. But I will not get swallowed up. He panicked a little bit, and position went from his advantage to equal. Offered me a draw. I worked all night, so sleep deprived, black pieces, an almost master level player by rating, offered me a draw. Yeah, I got to take it. But just for pride, because you have friends that are good chess players, you should never, ever offer me a draw. I'm going to play a little bit of blitz chess. I have a slight problem with online chess. Before we judge, Daniel Naroditsky, who I don't know him, but he was the first of the strong chess players who made chess seem relatable, not impossible. I was first introduced to Naroditsky and then Botez Live during COVID. Me and my friend Andrew, which Andrew stopped playing. He had a kid and has a real career. But he got into it during COVID. I think he had some light experience when Andrew was younger. And he had Daniel Naroditsky on when I went to visit him and his wife, who was also my friend from my college business fraternity. And Daniel was playing blitz over and over and then explaining some of the games. And we actually wanted to play after, as opposed to some elite players, nothing against their ability, but they're not great at dumbing it down. So we just want to quit. And that was when I was probably 400 on chess.com. I, of course, followed Daniel Naroditsky on all social media, watched his streams. And as I've become, by rating online, an expert, but really just a little below advanced in my opinion over the board. Daniel has the ability, or had the ability, to um, make chess feel welcoming and help players at all levels. A lot of good players are able to relate to one skill group, not so much others. Daniel seemed to do it well for beginners, intermediates, advanced experts, and even professional players. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of men have it harder than women. Men have it different than women. Men certainly take our own lives at a higher rate than women. And I don't know Daniel Naroditsky or the situation. But I do know, even though women get wronged, probably more frequently than men, nobody cares about a man except for his own family if he's lucky. If he's lucky. At least no one cares about a man enough to sacrifice, risk anything. And women, though again they have their own challenges, will never understand what that feels like. The closest a woman might get to understanding what it's like to be a man, unfortunately, is a mom whose son took his life or overdosed. Which brings me to my goals with chess. Like I said, I'll be 1600. That gives me 2 months, the final 2 months of 2025, to go from 1600 to 1700 USCF. I'll take a week break, maybe go on a weekend trip with my dog, clear my head, and I will use January through March 7th, which is my 31st birthday, to shoot for 1800. It sounds like a lot of quick jumps, but I kind of intentionally did it this way. I talked to a lot of really good chess players, a few grandmasters. Some I've told my intentions, and others I'm just quizzing. I would never put their names on any thoughts, especially if I didn't tell them specifically why I'm asking them certain questions. But I accepted through my own reading, my own play, and most importantly, the opinions of strong players. I have to get my ass kicked and kicked and kicked and only fight back sometimes. This was when I was learning during, the COVID variants and that period slightly after COVID. I call them mental representations. Elite chess players such as Naroditsky have millions of patterns. I don't know about talent being important. I'd say memory is super important for a good chess player. Just because you're smart doesn't mean you're necessarily good at chess, and vice versa. And I have a very good memory. So I used the monthly weekend event when I was able to play, because I wasn't working, I was Uber driving, to actually try to win games, play openings I'm familiar with, trade down, and then I would use the weekend rated games and the weekly nights, which is one 60-minute time control over the board game per week. I would play openings I saw in the monthly events from the opponent's perspective if I didn't understand it exactly. And that way, once I'm 1800, I will have a lot of mental representations. So I can peg, so I can go much deeper in popular opening lines and their variations. And since I'd already played them, and seen them played against me, they will just stick in my mind. Whereas too many people before they're even my level are mastering openings, but it takes them so much longer to remember the moves and understand the opening conceptually because they don't have anything to peg it to. So I've intentionally done it this way, knowing that there would be a time, which is now, that I have a good enough foundation. I've seen enough openings. I've screwed up enough. I've managed my clock poorly enough to where I can always try to win. And I take advantage of every opportunity with the Grandmaster in residence. Try to listen to games he breaks down for beginners uh, players at my level and slightly above my level, and how does he think about it? And that's helped me. But most importantly, it will eliminate any variable but myself. So if I lose now, and I'm working with a grandmaster, and again, I've made plenty of mistakes. Some games I'm not even trying to win, so I can get to where I'm at, and I've seen enough patterns where I'll sink or swim. And if I can't reach 1800 on my own, there's a 0% chance of me being able to master chess, even with elite training and an opportunity to play chess full time. 2 points to wrap up this intro. Don't make fun of someone. If you saw my online profile, you would think there's something wrong with me, and there might be. I play too much, but that's why men don't seek help often. You want to judge, and maybe that's the same challenge, not sleeping, playing too much chess to cope with life, that Narodisky was facing, and it doesn't seem like he felt super comfortable reaching out. That's why men just take our lives or struggle until it's a problem. And secondly, weird brains are necessary to do something out of the ordinary and important. I'll reach 1800, and then if I don't get a chance to make a living, even with ridiculously difficult to attain incentives, I will quit chess forever. I will not play online. You will see my account, just like my rapid time control on chess.com. It will go from way too many games, unhealthy amounts of games, to 0. I'll re-download Tinder. I'll try to start a family, I guess. But at 1800, I don't feel like as an adult who didn't play as a kid, I can really keep progressing reasonably quickly and be working and be trying to date, spend time with my grandparents as they get older, etc. And I'll be happy-ish. I'll reach 1800 while working and during COVID, which was a weird time. A lot of stress. It's pretty good. Proves to me that it's possible for an adult to master not only chess, but systems or complicated mental pursuits with no exposure as a kid. And hopefully, there'll be enough documentation on YouTube and elsewhere of my learnings and how I learned to motivate people with the interest in financial resources to invest in a project slightly younger than me and take the study further. And should I get a chance, like I said, even if for incentives, to continue, I will try to master chess. But after the Narodisky death, it doesn't seem worth it. He was stronger than I'll ever be. And he's dead, so who really cares at the end of the day? I can improve. And also Magnus Carlsen's back in St. Louis, which I think he should be banned from America forever. I'm serious about that. I don't dislike the guy. I'm sure he'll be a great dad. He's the best athlete of all time, probably, possibly in all sports, in terms of the gap between 1 and 2. And I just think he should be banned from America. And I can make very strong arguments about that. There's no reason to welcome him back to America in any capacity. You can pull his visa. Pull it. And if people were questioning Hans Niemann, let alone Daniel Narodisky, good God, why would I work my life for this? How can you be such smart people as chess players and then not have any business sense at all, or consider outsiders' perspectives, or complain that your game doesn't grow, or that only a certain select group of grandmasters can make a living with their play, and then let Hans Niemann suffer? Well, America just doesn't care. We only want to watch football. And nobody cares about Magnus Carlsen, especially in America. Nobody wants him here. If mainstream knew who he was, they would not. They say, that's an American. Let Hans Niemann do it. And you just have no business sense at all, generally speaking, it seems. And I'm not perfect either. I think I'm probably the as close to I hate to say normal, but normal personality, just because I had exposure through sports and other activities as a kid. as close to normal or able to pretend to be normal as a pretty smart or different person could be. Like you're not going to be super relatable to the average person that wants to watch Netflix all day if you're an elite chess player. But how on earth, if baseball has to have the Savannah Bananas to grasp certain people's attention, and baseball is way more exciting than chess to most, how do you think anyone's going to care about catering to Magnus Carlsen? How do you think any American's going to want to pay or support chess when you let an American suffer on our soil and call it the chess capital of America? Call it the chess capital of the world because they are the best. It has the best facilities, St. Louis does, the best teachers, the best players live here. But how on earth, whether Neiman were an angel or the devil himself, can you expect America to ever give a fuck about chess? Lastly, Fabiano Caruana won the U.S. Chess Championship for the 4th time in a row. Amazing talent. It's a shame he didn't live in any other generation besides Carlsen's, because he might have about as many world titles as Carlsen does. Fabiano Caruana is Italian. I haven't researched his life. We should be grateful to have Caruana here, just like in basketball, Luka Doncic, Wemby, etc. But he is not an American. He is Italian. He developed mostly, from what I've gathered, elsewhere. We import people, just like in corporate tech, to take opportunities away from our young Americans. There might be a 14-year-old American that needs to get the shit beat out of him or her for 5 years. And because Caruana is, as I would and anyone would if we were given the opportunity to improve our lives and our families' lives, is replacing a slot that a 14-year-old prodigy could be taking. And of course, it wouldn't be as fun to watch for chess people. Now, mainstream America would get way more behind a 14-year-old American than Magnus Carlsen if you got him to play under the American Federation. But we'll never know. It's a terrible mindset that I saw in corporate tech. Oh, well, Americans don't want to learn, so we'll get an American here and there, but we have to get people from India until American education gets fixed. No, you give Americans opportunities, and we sink or swim pretty quickly. So I would move, once I reach 1800, anywhere else that Hans Niemann is welcome. And I will always say great things about the St. Louis Chess Club. I'm from Missouri, so when I am back home visiting family, I will play at the events, attend lectures. But you have more commentators, elite athletes, etc., who did not come to the States until 20 years old or older. That is not an American. That is not an American. That is not an American. And if you want to make the argument that is an American, mainstream America will never give you a penny, or more importantly, a second of their time. Because that's an Armenian. That is a Russian. And if that's racist, go ask big shots in Russia. Go ask Vladimir Kramnik if he wants Hikaru Nakamura coming to play as a Russian. Kramnik would say, I don't care if I'm 90. I'll fight Hikaru to keep him out of Russia. Nothing personal. And we bring them in, and we bring them in, and we bring them in, and stamp them as Americans. Until they, and chess people seem much more intelligent, nothing personal against India, than H-1B holders from India. But until they think it's theirs. And young Americans quit trying. Since I'm so smart, instead of refreshing USCF chess ratings all day, every day, I found a rating calculator. Now, this seems to shoot a little low, but it is interesting. So I was 1571. I lost to a 1624 rated player, which was sad. It doesn't take into account if the athlete is playing as black or white, but it says it's going to take me down to 1552, which I don't think it will, based off a lot of experience obsessing over this rating formula. So then What was my next game? Who did I beat? No, I drew. That was the draw. So 0.5 against. That was the live rating, which I think it goes off live ratings. So apparently that'll bring me back to about what I was. I think it'll give me a little bit higher again. But we'll find out. So then I'm 1571, and I beat an athlete that was like 1470. So I'll be at the low end 1587. At the high end, I would say 1610 after the rates are in. Don't read all this crap. Try to understand math. Just put it in the formula. Okay. Like I said, got a slight problem with online chess. My recent games are so bad because I'm playing tired. But I did do a good job this weekend of limiting my play to what I usually do. And it's very sloppy, yet I'm still above 2100 again. And I bounced back 2 or 3 times now. I spiraled and got back to 2100, did it again. So I definitely can get to 2200 in blitz. And I'll shut it down in terms of online for the year. Hey, Elijah. He's a super nice guy. That's the almost master player by rating. I don't know. I think, is it 2100 where you become a candidate master? Maybe I should say candidate master. That I drew against. And he's getting back into it. Now he's played enough games since his break to where he should be full form again. But he just didn't want to see the loss of rating. You know, a draw against me isn't good, but a loss to a 1570 at his level would be devastating. So I get what he was doing. He's a national master. I get what he was doing, but still, don't ever draw against someone like me. Adult improvement specialist, are you now, Elijah? Did the chess gods unite us for a reason, my friend? $22.42 USCF. Nice to meet you, Elijah. He's got Caruana in his profile. That's how you know you. Pretty serious chess player. That's an elite mind right there. Congratulations to Caruana. Again, nothing personal with the comments about America. Okay, so you can't give me that queen has to move, probably. You're incorrect. See, this is pathetic. We're going to focus and win the game, but it's still pathetic. It's not over, but it's pathetic. Okay, so what? Now I can get away with that. No, you should probably. I should take the knight. I see you. Peekaboo. See, who taught you how to play chess? I'm worried nobody did. Did you just offer me a draw, you asshole? I hate arrogance. I hate you. You can't creep. Okay. That would do me a lot of good. That certainly does, though. You're a joke. You're a bad joke. You're a joke no one's going to laugh at. See, moves like that. I've got routines that help me flip in and out of online and over the board mode, which sounds silly, but I did a little bit of thinking, and I don't really see a reason I shouldn't do that. I used to think of chess improvement in terms of am I priming the brain for the right thing? Because I grew up playing physical sports, and in physical sports, where short bursts matter, I was training to run a 40-yard dash, for example. That's what I'm clocked at. That's what I could lose my. It's not a job when you're young, but my spot in high school or trying to compete for one in college. I'm not training to run a marathon. I'm training to be explosive, which, of course, if you train like an endurance runner, you are training slow twitch muscle fibers. But if you're sprinting, if you're doing power cleans, enforcing the 3 points of extension, what is it? Your hips, your knees, I forgot. It's been a decade. But then you're training for the right things. But training for the wrong thing can hurt you in the other. So if you train slow, it hurts your 40-yard dash. Might make you a better distance runner. And if you train for short bursts, your endurance times would likely suffer. But in chess, it doesn't seem to be that way. For example, Hikaru Nakamura is the first or second best speed chess player in the world, yet he's also between second and fourth, depending on who you ask, best classical time control player. So he's able to do both. That doesn't happen in other fields, in physical sports. And with that same thinking, I don't really see a reason I can't play stupid, garbage street chess. I call online street chess because I watch street basketball, the N1 basketball tour with the professor and people who would never last the NBA, even if they have some of the physical tools, size, speed mainly. The professor's a little white dude. He would not have been able to make it in the NBA. But there are some on that tour that the professor kind of dominated. He did well in that format, who had some of the gifts necessary to be a bench player in the NBA. Now, street ball, even if you took an NBA player to the streets, it's a very different brand of basketball. They're leaving the ball exposed. They're not really working as a team so much. The NBA player would have to adjust and would be temporarily worse off in that bullshit format that isn't real basketball. So street basketball to me is like online chess. It's an indicator of one's potential, but it is not real chess, at least at this level. I found as long as I focus on certain routines on my drive to the club, I'm able to snap out of that mindset. And as long as it's not a classical time control game against a pretty good player, to me, in terms of going to be hard to beat, starts at 1800. I shouldn't beat them anymore. Anyone under 1800, I'm not saying I'll beat you. I'm saying I'm certainly not afraid of anything you're going to do. Nothing you're going to do, nothing you're about to do is intimidating, makes me worry at all, unless you're 1800. When you're 1800, I don't know them because I don't play them often, but something about their game is going to be really good. They haven't figured out the total package. And though something about their game is going to be pretty good, they're far from consistent. They don't make mistakes. They're consistent in that way. But it's a matter of figuring out which part of their game has not been developed. They're going to have weaknesses. But they're also going to kick my ass somehow. I just don't know how. So if I don't have some routines, and I go from online chess to over the board, I play stupid shit. And even if I tell myself to not play stupid shit, if I played too much online chess and I didn't very deliberately snap out of it before a game, I'll lose to a 1200 over the board. Maybe that's part of being an adult who didn't play as a kid. An athlete at the top of any field has figured out some things mentally. But also, you look at Hikaru Nakamura, and they're going to change the rule because he's just wrecking. He's playing athletes at my level, like a little better than me, and he's the best in the world. It's just it's cruel, and it'd be exciting. I'd like to meet him. I say some things that probably aren't appropriate to most, but I really do respect anyone who's climbed to the top of the field, especially grandmasters, because there's not as much prestige and money, at least in America. I don't have to like them. They don't have to like me. I like Hikaru. He seems fine. I would show up to his autograph booth or wherever. You don't just meet Hikaru Nakamura. He doesn't just hang out with civilians. And unless, he wants to beat up on some 1800 players, just trying to figure out our favorite opening choices, asshole. But I would show up with a cane, like the Botez, where they dressed up as, the sisters dressed up as grandmas. They put, I don't know how they did it. It was really good. They had to have had a makeup artist help them, but they looked like 80-year-old women. You're ugly. There you go, ladies. You can't have the best of both worlds. You want to be warriors and business gurus, but no, I want to be pretty. Ugly grandmas. Ugh. But I would dress like that to meet Hikaru Nakamura, how the Botez sisters did in their, fake granny video where they convinced chess hustlers they were just old ladies that didn't know how to play chess. I'll show up with my cane. I'll be limping to Hikaru, and Hikaru's going to go, "This poor old man." And I'll take my cane and I'll tap him on the hand. And I'll say, "Sonny, I'm only 30 years old, Hikaru. And I've got at least 10 more years before I turn into a wrinkly old man whose brain doesn't function." And then Hikaru Nakamura will go, what did you just do, Grandpa? And I'll show him his video calling me a psychopath and acting like 30-year-olds fall apart if we didn't play chess until adulthood. Nice to meet you. Most of your acquaintances, you remember shaking their hand, autographing their book. I will live in your memory as a grandpa with a cane and an ounce of bitterness in my heart for your comments about adult improvers. Okay. One more thing. I'm going to kill this stream. I might be back on later tonight. It's been raining, so I haven't walked my dog. I need to do that, whether it stopped or whether it's still raining. If you ever, well, like this guy's there's no way he would have known who I am. I'm not big in chess, and a few grandmasters might know me, especially if I quiz them. And I'm way more obsessive than even some at their level when I show them my analysis approaches and stuff. So they might remember me for that. But this guy, this Elijah guy, there's no way he knew me. He couldn't have predicted that we'd be paired. He figured there would be someone stronger. I was the second highest rated in the event. It was the only reason I got to play a national master. Yes, he's giving lectures and shit. You're the chess therapist. Which one are you? Are you a big deal? This isn't the one I'm friends with. He's got multiple accounts, which I hate it when they do that. I don't know which is primary. But he made mistakes that. I mean, I got the game saved. He made mistakes that, I mean, a shorter time control player at his level shouldn't. And this is for me looking back at it. I don't know. I don't have that good of a feel during the game. But he mentioned, is it okay if I try to win this game? And that pissed me off. Again, some people with elite brains, they're just different. He didn't mean it mean, but it hurt my feelings. Because I just jogged 10 minutes. There was a Halloween parade. And then the first word said to me, or is it okay if I try to beat you? And I said, bro, what does that even mean? And he said, is it okay if I try to win? And I looked at his rating, and I'm like, you're being mean to me. You're insulting me. But I replied, why else would you show up to play? Whether you're paired against a 900, me, or a grandmaster, don't drive to the fucking event. If you have to ask if it's okay to try to win. And maybe he's playing mind games to screw it, because it pissed me off, as you can see. So maybe that was part of his plan. I don't know. Maybe National Masters are that way. But I would say he tried to win. When you look at his opening, he was fine. And when he had the advantage, until he made his one mistake, it was pretty clear. I mean, he was overlooking decent moves that would have been pretty much automatic at my level, going for a little bit more. But if you ever intentionally lose a game to me, there will be problems. His other account said adult improvement specialist. He didn't know me, but let's say someone did know me and they want to make me feel good, so I'm friendly towards them. I'm not a big enough streamer for them to care yet, but if I made it big and you try to kiss my ass in that way, I promise I'll never talk to you. I'll never do business with you if you ever let me win. Furthermore, if you have me beat, I've heard there are some that have paid strong players to lose so they can get their titles, which is chicken shit. I would never be associated with them if that was proven either. But not only will I not touch you if you let me win, if you let up at all, and I find out that you did, or I can prove that you did, and we are innocent until proven guilty. But chess is objective. It's not poker. You don't get pocket aces. You don't get lucky. The better player wins almost every time. It's astounding how frequently the best chess players beat the slightly less strong. But if you don't ruin my life when you have the advantage and you're stronger than me, I will research it. I will take the notations from that game or past games if I have them, and I will show them. I will pay the strongest grandmaster who will take my call to analyze, and I'll say, did he sandbag? Well, he won the game. Yeah, but he didn't try to embarrass me, and he could have. Why? And I will go after you if I find out that is the case. Don't ever let me win. Even if I get a chance to do this full time, it's a great story. And oh, you let him win, that would get views. If you ever let me win, you will never get another view from me. Your organization will never, ever have me around. You will never be spoken to. And I will refuse to play you like Carlson did Neiman if you ever let me win, or don't kill me as bad as you possibly can when you have me beat. Elijah did not do that, but it's an example. Okay. In the stream, I'm back to 2115. I'm going to get to 2200 in blitz, and then I'm killing it for the year as far as online goes. Stay tuned. Check out more of my YouTube lives. That's where I keep most of my documentation, simply because I don't use it for anything else. I don't care about streaming. I don't want to be a content creator. But I do need proof that I'm not cheating. And that can be found under my YouTube lives.